In the year 1931, the world experienced one of the worst floods in human history. In that year, the Yangtze region had a very harsh winter. Because of this, snow and ice built up on the upper parts of the river. Also, in this year, there was an unusually high precipitation combined with the melting snow caused the water table to rise. To make matters worse, a massive monsoon also hit the area, causing massive flooding. The land that was near the river was very overused. It was not well kept. All the dikes that were trying to keep the river at bay and prevent flooding were worn out, and the dams were not built correctly. See, China at the time was not spending enough time or money to keep and monitor the river to make sure it stays healthy. Because of all these factors, the dams and the dikes that were along the river failed. The area affected by the floods was over 100,000 square miles. It was roughly equivalent to the size of England and half of Scotland, or the state of New York, New Jersey, and Connecticut combined. In total, there were 8 provinces that was affected. It was estimated that over 2 million people were killed from this flood. Right when the flood happened, it was estimated that over 100,000 people died immediately. About 400,000 people were left homeless because of this flood. Many of the deaths from this flood wasn't even caused by drowning. At this time, there was a widespread decline in food. This played a major role on why there were so many deaths because of this flood. However, this is not the biggest cause of these deaths. At the time, there was a huge malaria breakout. Many people got sick after this flood, and since they were homeless and hungry, they just died from the disease. Conditions such as dysentery, typhoid, and cholera just spread through the community and took many lives. Chinese politicians in the 1931 flood saw this as an opportunity to reassert national control over the relief infrastructure. Since this disaster was on such a huge scale, the government established the National Flood Relief Commission, or the NFRC. The NFRC employed a range of foreign and Chinese experts to help prevent another flood. These experts were commissioned to do an aerial survey of the flood zone so they can get more information on what they were really dealing with. After a little help from the U.S. government, the NFRC finally had enough financial backing to distribute relief throughout the disaster zone. They hired over 1 million workers. They were employed to reconstruct over 1,000 miles of dikes along the Yangtze River. These dikes were about 6 feet high and 6 feet wide. And that is the end of my video on the 1931 China floods.